You know, I have mnemonics for remembering things. Well, F.I.S.H. is a good one for this. F is for feet. You want your feet just comfortably hip width apart. Neither like this nor jammed together. Just how you might normally stand. With your feet about whatever your hip width is, round about that. That's comfortable. Feet. F for feet. Then the tricky one, the one that's easy to forget, is to be ready for independent leg action. We make movements. We establish some motion. We get sliding, and then we make tiny little movements. And we need to be aware or ready for the fact that we may not be making exactly the same movement with both legs at the same time. So that's F.I., feet, hip width apart, independent leg action. S is obvious, it's sloppy S. It's this sloppy moving sort of S shape that you'd get if you looked at from the side. And the H is for hands. This, if you've skied before, because you have, haven't you? This can be a bit of a bugbear because you may well have been told in the past by a well-meaning ski instructor, get your hands forward. Have you had that? Has anybody said that to you? Get your hands forward. Why has he said that? He said that because what he saw you doing was tending to sit back. So he said, no, get your hands forward, you see, hoping that you would do that. But actually, you don't. It's quite interesting. I don't know what your arms weigh, 5 kilos each or something, don't they? Now, if I happen to be, at that moment, in balance, I'm neither falling forwards nor backwards, although I'm further, my whole posture is too much to the rear, and he doesn't want that. If he then tells you to hold your hands forward, carry your hands forward, and you do this, you take these two 5-kilo weights and place them ahead of you. Now, if you don't do anything else, you're going to fall flat on your face because you're now out of balance. And you cannot do anything other than instinctively rock backwards in order to counter the weights that you've just stuck forward, which is precisely what the ski instructor didn't want you to do, but he had no better way. I mean, English might not have been his first language anyway, but he has no better way of trying to explain it to you, and it has the opposite effect to the effect either of you want. So if you've been told that in the past, do your best to put it to one side, because forwards isn't where you need your hands. Where you need your hands is nothing more complex than low and wide. You want them wide because it gives you some stability, and you just need them to be low. Don't want them stuck out here, and you don't want them up in the air, just low and wide. And when we do this little exercise of adopting this posture, I'll show you the dead easy way of finding how to do it. You just do a Kevin type slouch, and when you do, your hands will dangle just ahead of you, only just. If you relax them completely, dangles just ahead of you, and then you simply go like that and just spread them slightly wide. Point your thumbs downwards and you're in the right posture. You won't keep it, but one of the tricks tomorrow when we're on the slope is to make a routine, and always, every single time, try to get yourself, before you set off, to adopt this excellent, the best ready for action posture you can. It doesn't matter that it doesn't retain, you don't retain it all the way down, because you are nevertheless habituating it, and the more repetitions you do and the more habit, the more it becomes your way to ski. The sooner you make, the faster the progress is, and it can really be very fast, no question about that. So that's about it really, and we will just sort of do a bit of practice. We want to do a bit of practice of how to do a good ready for action posture.
I'm Phil, and what I'm looking forward to this week is really learning about how to ski properly. I've been on a number of skiing holidays before and taken part in the normal ski school lessons, but I think there's still areas of my skiing that I've got a lack of confidence with, or I don't feel like I'm doing things correctly.
I've asked you to take your socks, your shoes off, and we'll do this in our socks for two reasons. Number one, it's quite comfortable. Number two, we're going to move on to something where it'd be handier to be without our shoes. So, if you remember, what I was saying was, you got this F.I.S.H., feet about hip width apart. So you'd have your feet parallel to one another, and that's probably wider than your hips, isn't it? Does that feel as though your hips, they're at hip width?
Now you say it, it does feel a bit wider, yeah.
This is awareness, you see.
Yeah,
this is what we're trying to build up. So they were a little bit wide.
Yeah.
You just want to be standing nice and comfortably, as though you were standing, well, like we are on a horizontal sticky surface. Then the next thing we want to do is, well, we can't have independent leg action because we're not actually skiing, but that would be the next thing, the eye. Now we want to get a floppy S or a sloppy S. And the way we've got to do that is to flex at the ankle, so your shins go forward, to flex at the knee, and then to flex at the hip. And that way, it's quite comfortable, but I've still got my back upright. I can just about do it, but it's beginning to feel a bit of a strain on my calves. Yeah. And if I just tilt slightly forward with my back, tuck your tummy in, and tilt slightly forward with your back, it doesn't pull on your calves anymore. So this is now beginning to feel reasonably comfortable posture, even though we're not moving. And it's also easy to do that. And the more you can do that, the happier you are with being able to get a bit more flex and a bit less flex, the better. Because when we're up on the slope, the sort of balance, we're never in balance, but we're balancing. And it's more akin to trying to run across a row of stepping stones across a stream, and you might be wobbling a bit, but you have to be a bit agile. And if you can just get used to this feeling, you'll be able to respond to whatever the slope throws at you. And then the final thing was hands low and wide. So you want to do a Kevin. You go, oh dear. And then all you need to do is none of this business, just that. And if you point this set of knuckles down, straight down toward the floor, you'll see that your hands are slightly angled. If you had a ski pole now, it would be the two ski poles would be diverging. And that is your ready for action posture. Now it's extremely, relax now, it's extremely simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And one of the things that makes it difficult is that we don't use it very often. You don't walk about at home like that. You don't practice it. Yeah. What you practice at home is standing upright like this and moving about by moving one foot in front of the other. And we're going to have both feet glued to something. We don't move about like that. And so none of this is natural, and that's what makes it difficult. Skiing isn't easy, but it's simple. And if you just stick to the simple things and repeat them and repeat them and repeat them correctly each time, that's going to be really great. I saw a study done by the music department of the University of Texas, and it was about practicing an instrument, say a guitar or whatever it is. What they discovered was those pupils they were all practicing, but those pupils who made the best and the fastest progress were the ones who didn't try to hurry it ever. If there was a sequence to play, if you're going 1, 3, 4, 5, 8, then they would do it very slowly. And what really mattered was to get that sequence right. If you didn't, start at 1 again. Don't carry on with it. Start at 1 again, slow it down, and do it slowly until you got it right. And then very slowly increase the speed. As the moment you got to a speed where you couldn't do that sequence, stop, go back to a slower speed. And the key thing was, don't try and rush it. Just try and do it well every single time, and that made a huge difference.
I'm Jane, and I've skied a fair bit, but what I hope to get from this week, I hope to get rid of a lot of bad habits, which I'm sure Bob is going to point out, and maybe change my technique a little bit, and hopefully be able to ski a range of slopes with far more confidence than I sometimes do. I've felt as though have lost a bit of confidence that I have had in the past.
So that's the posture that we want to be trying to adopt. Now, I got you in your stocking feet because you won't know it, but tonight I'm going to bring with me some little ladybirds, some little beetles, and I'm going to drop one beetle into each of your ski socks, left and right. Now beetles can perambulate, you've got 6 little legs, and what these beetles are going to do is they're going to crawl down your sock, and where they're going to end up is very near the extreme toe, but they're going to end up, each beetle is going to reside in that little hollow where your big toe joins your foot. So the beetle, if I can balance, is going to be just, I can't, the beetle's going to be there. Just in that little hollow, because he can settle, or she can settle into there, and she's safe and nice and snug and warm. And we need her because she is one of the most fundamentals of excellent skiing. When we're in this posture, we've adopted a good ready for action posture, and I've got my 2 little beetles in there. And now what I'm going to try and do in this posture, what I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to try and just squeeze my right hand beetle by just sinking down slightly more on her than on the other one, without leaning on her like that, because that'll squash her too much, she might die. We don't want that. And the trick to doing this, be aware of your hips. Now, as you sink down and you attempt to squeeze your little beetle, you will be tempted to either lean over or twist or do all manner of things. But the one I would like you to try and do is this. As I sink, I don't know whether you'll be able to see it, as I sink onto that beetle, just that one, slightly more than that, I want my hips to move slightly to my left. I don't want to twist, just laterally to my left.